capture, the essence of what it means to accept people as they are. Okay, realize that we're all in the same boat. Okay, like I said, I'm in an area that is considered the hood, so to speak. The hood, if you understood what that meant, I have no idea anymore because the faces have changed. Okay, there are whites here, there are blacks, Latinos, Asians, blah, 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 blah. All walks of life, all income levels, because I can tell. I've seen people in business suits. I've seen some in medical suits, these, in scrubs, as if maybe they're doctors, nurses, or in the medical profession. So all walks of life are here. Homeless, sleep on the grass. But anyway, I was up most of the morning, all night, and that happens to me. I have issues with sleeping, and that comes from my former line of work as a first responder. So I don't necessarily sometimes get a full night of rest. I mean, full night of, you know, knockout sleep, unless I take an aid, and I choose not to do that. I remember back in the day, I did used to take the melatonin, but the melatonin, all it would do is just, I would wake up with a really bad headache. So with my meditation has allowed me to relax. So as long as I am relaxed and just, whether I'm lying down in my bed, sitting up, blah, 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 I'd rather stay in my bed, and just sit there, relax, calm myself down, make sure my thoughts are clear, go into a no thought meditation, whatever the case may be. I get myself rested. Whereas now I can get up in the morning and I feel like I'm refreshed and ready to go. So you have to know who you are, what you are, and why you are, and also understand the complexities of your body and how your body is nothing like anyone else's. Our consciousness, which is like no one else's consciousness, psyche, our personalities. We are all individually different, but yet we can parallel ourselves on our consciousness, on our thoughts, on our experiences. We have parallel existence together. So that brings up something that I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to talk about this for a while. And like I said, everything has to be in a proper setting before and the people, we need to consider and be considerate of others. And in most cases, we're not. In most cases, we are so consumed and wrapped up about who we think we are. Okay? And it's always grander than it is. Let's be honest. We're not all that great. Comparing ourselves better than everybody else with 9 billion people on the planet. How arrogant, right? How arrogant. But it brings me to the fact that, yes, we are all individually irreproducible human beings. We all have our own psyche, our own consciousness, and we have our own thoughts, okay? Meaning we think for ourselves. Isn't that what it's supposed to be like? Because you hear a lot of people saying that. Think for yourself, think for yourself. Okay, what does that actually mean? Okay, because if I look at the big picture and I look at the results, it's obviously we're not thinking for ourselves. Okay, otherwise we would have better results. We all say we want peace. Okay, what does peace look like? Are you living in peace? Is any of us living in peace? I doubt it. Okay, love is something I'm going to focus on a lot with my podcast. And by the way, I'm Michelle Carruthers. This is episode 2 of my new podcast, The Evolution of the Consciousness. Love is spoken here. And so what I hope to bring into discussion and have filtering throughout the universe, or however my information get out, is, we really need to stay on top of what we're asking for. We need to stay on top of what we're thinking about. most importantly. And what does that mean? So that brings me to a point. There was a headline in the news, and I know a lot of people, that was filtering around the social media platform, and this particular person, and in particular people like this particular person, they are, for some reason, they were bestowed as they represent a woman's voice. They represent black culture. They represent this. They represent that. In other words, a lot of people, mostly the media. That's why I'm so glad that the media is starting to be faded out of conversations, and we're hearing conversations from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But the media usually always go to these particular type of people when there's a problem in the black community, for example, or black culture. They would always go to that particular individual and get that particular individual's thoughts and opinion on the black culture. Now, back in the day, that was an accepted, that was a practice that was accepted, and people allowed it to happen because we all understood the perils and the struggles and the ongoing battles for our voices to be heard. So I felt, and I think due to the mindset of that time, and this was during the time of my parents, by the way, we always felt like there has to be one leader leading millions, and for some reason, black culture always needed someone to speak for black culture, and instead of allowing black culture to speak for itself. So, and I'm gonna go a lot into that at some point as well. But for some reason, anytime there's an issue in the black culture, everyone will usually go to one particular person and say, hey, and this person is supposed to speak on our behalf. Well, if anybody's been paying attention, we ought to recognize that black culture didn't necessarily need that type of representation. As it turns out, it was a manipulation and deception, actually, when certain leaders were somehow picked to speak for the black culture. And what they were doing essentially was breaking up the black culture. And now, whether the so-called leader knew that, that's debatable, because a lot of them have since passed away. All right, so just remember, okay, you speak for yourself. Okay, you control your narrative. We no longer need one person or even one group to claim to represent the whole. And it's always involved black culture. Like, black culture needs people to speak for us. Black culture represents brilliancy and excellence. And I think that's being uncovered. Okay. I've spoken a lot about that, So if you want to find out more about some of these topics and others, you just go to my YouTube page, Michelle Carithers, author Michelle Carithers. But the point of the matter is, black culture, black people, women, people of color do not need one person to represent the whole. That's foolish and dangerous. Okay, that turns us into what? That because this came out of somebody's mouth, that means that I have to accept that? No, those days are gone. Okay, those days have been left the building. Okay, because we realize how dangerous that is. Okay, and a lot of these so-called quote-unquote leaders, what has happened to them usually in the end? But they have been taken out, assassinated, disappear. Okay, you get my drift. So my point is, each individual is responsible for controlling their narrative, okay, and speaking their truths based on their experiences, okay? Each individual has the right to have their opinions and theories, but it doesn't mean I need to accept it. I can respectfully swipe, okay, because that's how we're doing it. That's where we are. That's where we all are. We're on social media, swiping. No one individual, no group, no one represents me. No one represents you. You are responsible for your actions and behaviors. Okay? Imagine putting that much pressure on someone to represent millions and billions of people, one person. Okay, it's foolish. And that's why our political system is a failure. And has been a failure from the inception. Accept it. So my point is, I'm so thankful that a lot of people are controlling their narrative. They have their own podcast. They're speaking their truths based on their experiences. Now, if there are some lies and deception and manipulation, that stuff gets exposed very quickly. And that's the beauty of it all. Okay? If I said something, you're going to hear it from my mouth. Now, there is a lot of technology coming up the ranks, where they're going to be using artificial intelligence to do this, artificial intelligence to do that. Well, I keep saying artificial intelligence is neutral. So the quicker people get that in their brain, especially the nefarious types, the quicker they can avoid a disaster coming their way. Okay? Again, no one represents me except me. I am responsible for my behaviors and actions, not Oprah. Okay? You get my drift? My drift? Oprah doesn't represent me. Oprah represents Oprah. Okay? Oprah has been swept up into this feeding frenzy of the media, to where, for some reason, Black culture, more specifically, someone has to speak on our behalf. Okay, that's bullshit. And we have proven that to be a myth. Okay, Black culture has generated brilliancy and excellency from the inception. A lot of it has just been hidden. And a lot of people just don't know, because that was an intentional act to destroy and break up the Black family. Get the Black man out of the house sort of mentality. And that was done based on, I told you about the Jim Jones experience. Now, remember, with the Jim Jones experience, it involved that Jim Jones character, because he was a character. He was chosen to do that role. There were politicians involved. And keep in mind, the politicians were Democrat and Republican. Okay? So no one in the political realm represents anyone except the political realm that they benefit from. Okay? The political system of the 50s, 60s, the time of my parents, and the time, of this, the movement of the civil rights and this and that, it was infiltrated with nefarious types. I told you, Jim Jones, other politicians, other business owners, other religious figures. Their intention was to break up the Black family and in some ways take us back to Africa. Let's be clear about the intentions and what was happening. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about. So my point is, no one represents me. No one represents you. No one person can handle the complexities and the challenges of a Black culture, of women, of human beings. That's a collective effort. And each individual has to have the free will to want to do so, to help, to contribute. No one ought to be forced into the spotlight to speak for anybody. Don't speak for me. Like I said, Oprah doesn't speak for me. Oprah doesn't speak for the majority of the culture. And I can guarantee Oprah knows that. And she ought to be at a point in her life where she wants to be left alone. She's not a representation of any of us. She's in a different atmosphere. She lives differently. She moves differently. And so what? She has that right. She has that free will to do so. So she needs to speak up to these divisive, negative media outlets and let them know that no, Oprah does not speak for the whole entire population of black culture. She doesn't speak for the whole entire culture of women. Oprah speaks for Oprah and her experiences and how she got to her point. What she does is she's assists people. Okay, she assists. And I appreciate everything that she's done to assist. Okay, but she doesn't represent me. Okay, I have my own thoughts and opinion. Okay, and my voice is just as important as hers. So if you have an issue with something going on in a particular culture, go to the culture, go to the people, ask questions, okay? And stop and I say this to individuals. Do not rely on these local media outlets to give you the full picture, okay? They have an agenda, okay? They get paid in certain ways that keep them relevant. Otherwise, they would have folded years ago as well. So I get up. So that's what I'm saying. Even though I didn't get any, to my knowledge, any knockout sleep, I remained calmed. I calmed myself down. I cleared my thoughts. I made sure whatever was going on in my mind, those were my thoughts. Those were my feelings and my concerns. But what it turns out is because my neighbor was outside talking on his balcony, I was just hearing all of his conversation. So what I was picking up were his thoughts. In other words, when I say pick up his thoughts, the energy of his thoughts and why this and that and the other. He was speaking in another language, so I didn't know what he was talking about, thank goodness, because that probably would have made things worse. I have no idea what he was talking about, but I'm not concerned by it, my point. He works, apparently he works at night, because I remember being that way. And sometimes I can remember just going on and on and on and on all night long, with my coworkers back in the day, and not recognizing sometimes that, there are people trying to sleep. There are people with children that have to get up the next morning, this and that and the other. So that's why it is important to know and understand and be considerate of your surroundings, okay, and be mindful of the people that are around. That is the illustration, it ought to be, of the overpopulation. Whereas you cannot look out your window, at least I can't, and and everyone else as well. I don't care how much you isolate yourself, which is dangerous, by the way. There's a constant movement, okay? Because, like I said, all of us are having trouble sleeping. I know that. There's a reason why we're all having trouble sleeping. It's because of the state of the planet, okay? It's the state of our Earth. We are in serious danger. And if you are one of those, like I said, auditory, the intellectual talking heads, as I call them, you ought to be picking up the sounds of some type of disturbance. The rest of us are picking it up in vision. Like me, I'm a visionary type. But all of our sensing is involved. But your main dominant modality will show you that there's an issue. I'm looking out my window, and every spot on these roadways are filled with vehicles. There's no parking space at all. So I have to always time my out and abouting so that I know I can get back and get a good parking space. Okay, those are the kind of things that as a visionary we see. We hear the noise. We see the constant moving of cars. We see the constant moving of people walking. Like I said, my neighbor talking hours on end on his balcony, and not realizing how his voice is traveling and affecting people. Like I said, there could have been a baby across the street trying to sleep. There could have been children across the street attempting to sleep so they can get up and go to school. So those are the realities of our situation. We are suffocating each other. We're sucking up everyone's attention and energy. Some intentionally, most of it is intentional, but that's a cause and effect. And that's going to come back and bite a whole lot of people, as I said, with the pendulum swing and the boomerang, the returning of the boomerang. So, you are your own voice, okay? You have, and I think once you once you wrap your head around the fact that nobody represents you, so their behavior is their behavior. That's not my issue. I'm not behaving like that. But we have been indoctrinated to believe that if one black person is doing something foul, that affects all of us. Or if one woman happens to get herself into a particular type of situation, that represents all women. Okay, so you see how ignorant that sounds? But we have to catch up in our consciousness development to understand who we are, what we are, and why we are. We're failing at that. I've said it in the videos that I've posted already on YouTube. If you want to go back and take a look, or take a listen, or take a vision, for people that are visionary, there's videos there. You can hear me talking, and you can sense what I'm attempting to relay to you. It is about the evolution of your consciousness, which is something as simple as your thoughts. Because of our thoughts being on autopilot and just going haywire, we've caused massive damage to the planet. Okay, that is, it's already too late to stop the results. Okay, we all know that in the planet. We all know it. A lot of us secretly are awake at night thinking about it. And I suggest you not ruminate, but it's okay to have a thought, but but see that thought through. Don't sit there and ruminate over it and have it spinning in your brain, spinning in your brain, spinning in your brain. Ask yourself, what can I do as an individual to make this safe for me, to help me to survive this? Okay, and your consciousness, like I said, does whatever it can to protect you. Okay, and that may mean you will have certain type of experiences that may not make sense to you. That's why you just have to stay grounded in your reality. Okay, represent yourself. Ask yourself, how important and worthy am I to survive, to get through this? Look around your environment, listen into your environment, feel your environment, and get realistic about your situation. Oprah is not going to save all of us, and Oprah is not supposed to. That's not Oprah's job. We need to get away from, and it's the media that's doing it. Those of us that come up in black culture, we know better. We know that black culture was a result of brilliancy, excellency, that had the perils, the negative, the positive, the good, the bad. Okay, it created the strength of resilience, the strength of perseverance, unlike any other culture. Okay, so Oprah doesn't need to speak for us. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop there, and I just want to let everybody know we're gonna get through this together. Now, does that mean that some things may not be, and like I said on many other videos, the truth is going to be so hard for a lot of people to bear. And a lot of people think that they can hide behind ignorance, hide behind pretending to be stupid, hide behind all of these other filters. But once again, as I told you, you cannot fool your consciousness. Your consciousness is going to tap you on your shoulders. Whether it's your consciousness, your subconscious, it's going to be tapping you on your shoulders and reminding you that you need to resolve these matters individually. We've already failed collectively, so now it's on every single individual to take this opportunity to evolve your consciousness. Okay? So this is Michelle Carithers. I'm going to go ahead and stop for today. I want to go ahead and send peace and love throughout all over the stars, all over the moon, and all over the mountains. Love does get through. And I hope that you feel my love for you. I want people to know that, love gets through it all. And you just have to accept it or not. But love does get through. And I know my love does get through. And I know that my love does share and it spreads because it's all energy. At the end of the day, it's all energy. So peace and love, everybody. And trust me, I'll be back.